There we go. We're recording. Welcome to the second Monday in April, people. Spring is in the air and in the temperature. And we're going to see that waving flag as our Sergeant at Arms, Rob, presents it to us after we mute.
Thank you, Madam President. If all of you will kindly mute yourselves, focus on my voice and my screen, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. And I am turning it over to our venerable Toastmaster, who is Ms. Pat. Would you take it away?
The word venerable implies significant age, and I know I'm a little old lady, but venerable makes me feel like I should have a long white beard, which I don't think hormone-wise I can come up with. But anyway, thank you for the lovely introduction. Our theme tonight is winning and losing, and we're going to have a winning joke presented to us by Eric Stepper. Eric, let's hear you make us with a winning laughter.
Please unmute yourself so we can get some emotion. It can be a laugh, or it can be a boo, or it can be an ah. A man in New York City calls his son in Phoenix the day before Thanksgiving and says, "I hate to ruin your day, but I have to tell you that your mother and I are divorcing. 45 years of misery is enough." "Pop, what are you talking about?" his son screams. "We can't stand the sight of each other any longer. We're sick of each other, and I'm sick of talking about this. So you call your sister in Chicago and tell her." Frantic, the son calls his sister, who explodes on the phone. "Like heck, they're getting divorced. I'll take care of this." She calls New York City immediately and screams at her father, "You are not getting divorced. Don't do a single thing until I get there. I'm calling back my brother back, and we'll both be there tomorrow. Until then, don't do a thing. Do you hear me?" And she hangs up. The old man hangs up his phone and turns to his wife. "It's all set. The kids are coming here for Thanksgiving, and they're paying their own way."
I love that one.
Okay. I don't know how anyone could possibly upstage that, but nice to begin with a lovely laugh like that, especially when our theme is winning and losing. It'll be
Well, and
interesting.
that's a case of the father winning.
Yeah, I guess. So there are no program changes that I'm aware of, and we have no guests. So I will introduce our general evaluator, Steve Schwind. Steve.
Thank you so much. Happy to do the role tonight. As general evaluator, I will look forward to an overall observation of everyone's performance in the meeting tonight, and we'll give a report at the end of the meeting about my observations of everyone's performance. And in addition to my job as evaluator, I've got some sub-evaluators. The first is Barbara Walters, who will be evaluating Jackie Graybill. Would you like to tell us about your role, Barbara?
Thank you. My role tonight will be to evaluate Jackie's speech. I will provide her some feedback that's very constructive feedback, as well as highlighting some of the positives of her speech. Is that all? I'm sorry, you guys, I'm new to this role, so is that?
Somebody have a horse coming up in the background?
It's my dog drinking water.
Oh,
I never would have guessed that. Was it fountain or?
I apologize. All right. Sorry, Jackie. So I look forward to reviewing Jackie's speech. Back to you.
Barbara,
Thank
how
you,
long is her
Barbara.
speech tonight?
I don't know.
5 to
Between
7.
5 and 7 minutes.
Thank you. Our next evaluator is Eric Stepper, who will be evaluating Mary Cyrie's speech. Eric, can you share with us your role?
Do that. My pleasure to evaluate Mary. Mary will be giving the Understanding Your Leadership Style project from level 2 of the Visionary Communications Pathway. The top 3 styles, as determined by the handout, is democratic, authoritative, innovative. Mary's speech will be about leadership and followership styles. Duration is 5 to 7 minutes. She has asked me to keep her eyes on the camera and also the transitions, memorizations, smoothness. So I encourage everybody else also to do their own little evaluations and send her your feedback. 5 to 7 minutes, and I will give my report when called on.
Thank you, Eric.
Can I redo mine?
You can if you'd like.
Thank you. I did not introduce her speech. I apologize. And after listening to Eric's beautiful introduction, I wanted to introduce Jackie's speech and give it its due process. So Jackie tonight is going to be, Jackie's communication style is a mix of initiating and supportive, with initiating in the first place and supportive taking second place. This speech, a dry run for the upcoming division speech contest, illustrates a story when Jackie used the communication styles of initiating and supportive. Any feedback on it as her possible contest speech would be appreciated. The title is Foot and Mouth on the First Row and will be between 5 and 7 minutes. Thank you. Back to you.
Very nicely done. Thank you, Barbara. Our next role is the timer, and Rob is our timer tonight. Can you fill us in on your job?
Yes, I can, Mr. General. My role this evening is twofold. One, my role is to assist speakers, either in a speaking role or an evaluation role, to give their speeches within a specific time frame. Second, my role is to remind everyone that eating fresh vegetables is important for a healthy diet. The speeches this evening are 5 to 7 minutes. At the 5-minute level, I will present the green vegetables. At 6 minutes, the yellow vegetable. And at 7 minutes, the red vegetable. This will apply to both of our primary speeches this evening. Evaluators are 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will present the leafy green vegetable. At 2.5, the yellow. And at 3 minutes, the red. We are also very fortunate to have time for table topics this evening. Table topics are 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, the green. 1.5, the yellow. And at 2 minutes, the red. And I will timely present my report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. General.
Thank you, Rob. Well done. I somehow had it in my mind that you were going to say brush your teeth as opposed to eat your vegetables. I just had an idea that was coming. Our grammarian tonight is Christina Stepper. Can you share with us your role, Christina?
Steve, yes. I will be listening for excellent use of the English language, as well as any egregious use of the language. I will make note of those things I observe and share them when called upon. The other part of my duty is to challenge members to use the word of the day. The word of the day is inculcate. INCULCATE, and I have put it in the chat box. It means to instill as an attitude, idea, or habit by persistent instruction. Here's an example used in a sentence. The CDC has inculcated mask-wearing compliance. Inculcate. Enjoy using it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Can't wait to figure out how to use that one. Our final role tonight for the evaluators is our counter, and Selena will be doing that role. And can you share with us what it is you'll be doing tonight?
It would be my pleasure, Mr. General Evaluator. It is my job tonight to inculcate all of you to not use filler words like well, so, like, or but, to avoid repeating phrases. This means, for example. I will be counting all of those up when they are used this evening and reporting back at the end for all of you to have a log of your numbers for the night. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Selena. I will now return the controls to Pat Whitfield, our Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our first speaker for this evening is Jackie. As has already been shared with you, she's giving a communication style speech from level 2 of the effective coaching pathway. She's doing this as a dry run for the upcoming division speech contest. And she's going to share a story when she used the communication styles of initiative and supportive. Her title is truly intriguing. Foot in the mouth on the front row. I give you Jackie.
Have you ever had something bad happen that turned into something good? I got to the end of the security checkpoint. I was putting on my shoes. I put my laptop back in my backpack, all the while keeping good care of my little service dog that was with me, my 20-pound mini golden doodle, whose name is Tyrion. As I put everything back and put my coat on, I realized it wasn't there. Where was my boarding pass? Oh no. Oh no. They had a new machine in Denver. And when the lady was moving my electronics to the other box, she must have dropped it. I went up to the gentleman and said, I lost my boarding pass. Can you help me? He said, I'm sorry. We've got these new machines and I'm in a hurry right now. I can't deal with this. Just go to your gate and they'll print you another one. I took a deep breath and tried not to be panicked. I knew which gate. I remembered it. I would just head there with my puppy and we would get everything sorted out. Arrived at the gate in plenty of time and waited for the ticket agent to arrive. Once he did, I told him what had happened. He said, you probably would like to pre-board, right? Because you have a service dog? And I said, yes, that would be wonderful. They had just put me in the group with extra time, but pre-boarding, that was special. He said, I won't even worry about printing off your boarding pass. This is going to be fun. So in a couple minutes, he ushered me down, and we were the very first ones on the plane. That had never happened to me before. It was very exciting. And we sat in the very front row. It was a Southwest flight and everyone could choose their own. I had never been in the first row. There was plenty of room for us to spread out. And as I cozied up next to the window, I waited to see who would be our seatmates. Many people passed, and I knew that they wouldn't sit down next to us unless they liked dogs. Eventually, a couple came, said, can we sit here? And I said, sure. We bonded over the fact that my puppy is named Tyrion from the show Game of Thrones, which we both liked. We continued our conversation, and then I did it. I said 4 words. I hope for your sake you have never said these 4 words in your life. I said, when are you due? Oh, her response horrified me, and I wanted to sink into the ground and die. She said, oh, I'm not pregnant, I'm just fat. Oh. I felt bad for me because I had made the mistake, but I felt even worse for her that I had made this lovely woman feel bad. And in that moment, I had 2 choices. I could just lean against the window, look out, and forget the conversation had ever happened, or try to forget. Or number 2, I could keep talking with her, keep trying to connect, and not leave the conversation at my horrible mistake. That conversation ended up being the best conversation I have ever had on a plane because I didn't leave it there. I kept talking through the awkwardness, kept asking her questions about her life, and pretty soon we discovered we had something amazing in common. We were both survivors of an abusive relationship. Once we got going, there was no stopping us. Was how we sounded. She was telling me about her experience. I was telling her about my experience. She was giving me resources I had never heard of before. I was giving her resources because my mission in life is to help other women who have gotten out of abusive relationships or are in them to survive, escape, and heal. This was a phenomenal experience, and it taught me some important things. Never leave your mistake where it is. Try to keep connecting because that other person might need what you have. I invite you to think about this in your own life. And the next time you experience something bad, take a second, take a breath, and think about the possibility that this bad thing might actually turn into something wonderful. Because other people need connection. They need what you can give them. This is a crazy world and we're all longing for that connection. So I hope that the next time you find yourself in the front row with your foot in your mouth, that you take it out and use your mouth to connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Now, if everyone will take 1 minute to send your thoughts to Jackie. And Mr. Timer, will you let us know when 1 minute is up, please?
I would be happy to do so, Madam Toastmaster. Madam Toastmaster, that is 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Now we'll be honored to hear from our next speaker, who is Mary Syrie. Mary's topic is Understanding Your Leadership Style. It's a level 2 project in every pathway. What one does at this level is complete a questionnaire which delivers a ranking of the 8 leadership styles, and then the speaker's job is to share some aspect of that. Mary believes that you can be a good leader only if you are an experienced follower. And she's going to share some of her professional past as a detail-oriented software engineer that shaped her top 3 leadership styles: democratic, innovative, and authoritative, with bureaucratic at the bottom of her list. So she'll answer these questions in her speech entitled Lead the Followers. Mary.
Are you a leader or a follower? This was a table topics question at our meeting a few weeks ago. And to tell you the truth, I was kind of glad that I wasn't called on. In our culture, there is just one answer to that question. I'm a leader. Nobody wants to proudly proclaim, I am a follower, because it just makes you sound subordinate. But realistically, we need more followers than there are leaders. And yet, I don't see any Toastmaster projects about followership. There's no section in your favorite bookstore devoted to developing your followership skills. And no MBA program is going to pin its reputation on graduating the most successful followers in the nation. It's true that businesses succeed or fail based on the quality of their leadership, and it stands to reason that if leadership is important to performance, then followership collaborates too. By the way, is this word followership new to you? It's a real term, and there's a body of research behind it, but followers don't get much airtime, and that's a shame, because leadership and followership are intertwined. Fellow Toastmasters, today I'm giving followers their due. I'm going to introduce you to the 5 styles of followership, followed by a little reminiscent on my part of how my followership skills informed my leadership styles. In 1988, Carnegie Mellon researcher by the name of Robert Kelly printed an article in the Harvard Business Review entitled In Praise of Followers. In this article, he introduced the 5 styles of followership, and here they are. First off, sheep. This is the passive, uncritical worker. They do what they're told, no more, no less. You'll find sheep at the beginning of their career when they're navigating and trying to find their way in the world. Next up is the conformist. More energetic than the sheep, but still not a critical thinker. They avoid conflict, they run under the radar, and they tend to stay tightly aligned with their boss. Next up, it's the cynic. Intelligent, thinks well, but they snipe from the sidelines. The cynic often feels stuck and they lack power. They think they've got good ideas, but they're not valued. Fourth in the lineup is the pragmatist. This is your early warning system. The pragmatist has the experience such that they can speak up diplomatically to avoid repeating a calamity. They see the writing on the wall. And the final followership style is the star. The star is the most self-aware of all the followership styles. They deal well with conflict, risk, and ambiguity. They know what the team needs and they know how to communicate with leadership. I've experienced all 5 of these followership styles in my career. Early on, sheep and conformist, I admitted. In the high-tech world, it can be a little intimidating when you're new. Being a cynic taught me which leadership style to avoid. And as I gained experience, being a pragmatist and I think a star once in a while informed me of the leadership styles that I needed to develop. Did you hear me say that I was a cynic? I was. The first 4 years I worked at the University of Washington, and everyone in my department was cynical. Why should that be? It was a good job, and I liked my coworkers. The problem was we had a bureaucratic leader. He wrote the rules, we complied, and if you didn't, there were consequences. He docked pay, he demoted people, and he didn't mind humiliating somebody in front of their peers. It took me 4 years, but I finally realized this situation was not going to change. I needed to change. I got another job at the university in a different IT division, and I stayed there 20 years. In hindsight, I can see that as I gained experience and I collaborated with my peers and with leadership, I took on the pragmatic leadership style, followership style. I became an independent thinker. I was involved in strategic projects, and I felt that my input was valued. Eventually, I was tapped for a management role, and I became a technical project manager, leading teams of software engineers. What do engineers do? And I think this is key. Engineers solve problems. Engineers collaborate to find the best solution to problems. And once a direction of a project has been set, engineers focus on the end goals. My top 3 leadership styles reflect that followership style. Democratic, most effective when the knowledge of the team is required to solve a problem. Innovative, also effective when you're solving complex problems. Authoritative, provides long-term direction, sets standards, and stays focused on the end results. Clearly, my career followership styles informed my leadership styles. Are you a leader or a follower? If that question ever rolls around again, I'm ready with my answer. I am both. The way I see it, to be a good leader, you need to be an effective follower. And to be a good follower, you need to understand leadership. Madam Toastmaster.
Again, if we could have a minute to give feedback to Mary for her speech.
Of course, Madam Toastmaster. One minute, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Now we have the opportunity to switch to our table topics. And it will be very interesting to see what aspects of winning and losing will be inculcated into us. Kathleen, hit it.
Thank you. I am inspired and perhaps even inculcated by Mary's speech. There are some analogies between leaders and followers and winners and losers. People tend to think that a loser is a bad thing. We'll have some time to discuss that tonight. I concluded there could be 5 categories of losers. You could have your angry loser. You could have your wimpy loser, similar to the sheep. You could have your witless loser, which I would consider the star because they don't even know they lost. You could have your get even or cynical loser. And you could have your pragmatic loser who figures out how to make the best of it. My question is, what sort of loser are you, Lloyd Smith?
Lloyd, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Well, if what some of my students used to say about me is true, a really big loser is the kind that I that I guess I am. But I've thought about this topic a lot, especially last week when I was writing it down, because I was reading an essay about the difference between winners and losers, and the thesis that the author explained was actually somewhat similar to what Mary has just explained to us. You know, we're told over and over and over again how important it is to be a good loser and how important it is to be a good winner. But the author was arguing that it's not possible to be good at either one of those without knowing what it means to be good at the other one as well. In other words, it's not possible to be a gracious winner without having experienced what it's like to be a loser, so that you can appreciate the contrast between the two. And it seemed to me he was right about that. And I got to thinking about the losing that I have done. I was a college debater. My partner and I were in more than 500 competitive rounds, and we lost 150 of them. And that's a lot. I mean, that you don't get used to it, and you should never get to where you are willing to tolerate losing in a contest, but you do learn how to do it. And I think the kind of loser that I am, or at least that I hope I am, is the kind who tries to learn something from whatever the experience was, and then take it into the next similar experience. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lloyd. I think that is pretty interesting to compare winners and losers and your description of how you maybe have to experience both. It's a nice segue into the next question I have. All of us as adults play games at some point in time with children, either our own or someone else's. It might be a board game, it might be soccer, it might be football. My question is, should you let them win? I'm going to turn to Selena to tell us about whether you should let those youngsters win.
Thank you for that question. No, I don't think we should let those youngsters win. I would invite any of you to come to my house sometime for an evening of Scrabble. My children are extremely competitive. I think they learned that from me. They've never been given a win. Every win that they've had, they've earned and they've been proud of. Have there been pauses sometimes where parents maybe helped them along during a Scrabble game? Absolutely. But did we let them win? Never. There was never just a trophy for participating, but always good times. Sometimes we played where the dictionary was allowed, so there was time for research. You had, and we never timed how long it took to take a turn. So it was an opportunity to learn new words. But we never just let the kids win, because where's the fun in that? If I'm going to play a game, I want to be competitive too. It's a lot more fun for me if I get to get in the fray with the kids and in a good natured way and try to win myself without picking on them, of course. So yeah, I don't think children should be just given wins. I think that earning wins makes them feel better about themselves, gives them better self-confidence, and makes them winners in life. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Thank you, Selena. So interesting. I was looking up, I think, Psychology Today or some blog about this topic, and I let my kids win sometimes. It said that it's okay to do it sometimes, partly because you're supposed to be modeling what it's like to be a good loser. So I felt better about my parenting because I did sometimes let them win. On to a different topic. Many, many years ago, I went to one of my first of these dinners that we all go to all the time now, where you're sitting in groups of 10. There are hundreds of people in the room. There's some kind of an auction. You're buying raffle tickets. I went to one of these. I was in my early 20s. I bought a couple of raffle tickets. They started doing the raffle and several prizes were gone. And then they got to the really big prize, which was airline tickets. Any place, 2 tickets, any place in the US. Daggone it, if they didn't call my number. I won these 2 airline tickets. I was amazed. Later that same night, I won another big prize. That inculcated into me the idea that I was a winner. For years after that, and I mean years, whenever there was a raffle, I assumed I was going to win. Luckily, I'm not a gambler, so I didn't spend a lot of money on tickets. More recently, I've come to realize that was just beginner's luck. My question is, and this is for one of you lucky people out there, tell us about a time when you won a tangible prize. And if you haven't won anything, what would you like to win? And that's Christina.
A tangible prize. Can't recall a time I've won a tangible prize. Though I consider Eric to be a wonderful prize that somehow or another I managed to win over, to convince him that I was worth spending the balance of his life with me. Not sure how that happened, or whether he has figured out yet what happened or why. But we're coming up on 30 years, and that's pretty great. On the 4th of July, 30th anniversary. I tried playing Monopoly at Safeway for several years. Now, when they say, "Are you playing Monopoly?" I can't say no fast enough. That is ridiculous. Last year, at the end of it, my sister was playing. She called me and said, "Are you playing Monopoly?" And I said, "No, why?" She said, "Well, apparently it's the end of the game. They gave me 2 boxes of, do you want to open some?" I said, "Sure, why not?" Well, of course, there was nothing in them other than products we don't use. I stick to my guns. This year, I didn't play again. And if she gets 2 boxes of tickets, she's on her own. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Christina. I love that description. It sounded to me when you talked about Eric that it was a win-win. Selena alluded to something that is often referred to as participation awards. In youth sports, we many times give everyone on a team a medal or everyone gets something. My question is that a good thing or a bad thing? And this question is for Rob, if we can find someone to do his timing. And I know his experience with refereeing will also give him a lot of knowledge in this area.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Should we give every participant a medal for simply participating? I find that really degrades the whole idea of winning and losing. It eliminates that competitive drive to be the best so that you can get that one medal. Now that I'm an official, it doesn't really matter to me who wins or loses. Obviously, I'm supposed to be a neutral party anyway, but to be truthful, I don't really care which team wins and which team loses. What is most important to me is how the teams play the game. Sportsmanship is so much more important to me. I think that builds character. I feel that really gives a team or an individual the edge over someone who doesn't show good sportsmanship on the field. At the end of the year, we always vote for the team that shows the best sportsmanship. And I really look forward to that award each year. It's something we do. It's not something that is advertised amongst the schools. It's something that we as officials feel is important. We contact the school that is selected for having shown the best sportsmanship. We did it again this year. And that, to me, was the most proud point during the season for me as an official. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Rob. Well said. That finishes out our table topics for the evening. I am going to turn this back over, I believe, to Madam Toastmaster, if I have that correct.
Yes, you do have it correct. And those were wonderful and insightful questions. I have to intrude by saying, when you asked, had you ever won anything wonderful, I have to share. This takes you back a number of years when TWA was still flying. I won 2 tickets to anywhere in the world I wanted to fly on TWA. And we had a wonderful trip to Spain. I really wanted to go to Egypt, but it was during very unsettled times. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, having had my say, I'm going to turn this back to our general evaluator, Steve Schwind. Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Pat. I'm going to start by calling our first evaluator up to the table. Barbara, would you like to give us your observations of Jackie's speech, please?
Thank you. Yes, I would like to give my evaluation of Jackie's speech. This is my very first evaluation, so bear with me. Jackie, I particularly liked your vocal variety and your use of gestures. You appear to be fully at ease, not only with the audience, but also with the topic. You engage the audience. I noticed the reactions. I noticed a few smiles and a few cringes when the appropriate cringes when you said when you had mistaken somebody for being pregnant. I cringed as well because I have also been in your very same shoes. to summarize, I think you did a really great, wonderful job. Your intro was really kind of catching. I have to say, at first, I thought it was very, like, it hooked us. I didn't know where you were going at first. I thought maybe you'd miss a flight, or you wouldn't be able, you'd go up to the gates and you wouldn't have a ticket. They would say, "Who's Jackie?" But you got on the plane, you're the first on the plane, got seated with your puppy, service animal. And that was really, because that really hooked you. Then you went into your wrap up, or excuse me, your the meat of it. And then I think your wrap up was really on point. You, the importance, of owning your mistake, and the call to action speaks about kindness. And again, the ownness, not cringing, not looking away, owning it. And you made it probably a lifelong friendship, and you really helped somebody. So I know I'm supposed to give constructive feedback as well. The only thing I would ask you to experiment with is the lighting. The lighting was kind of off, and it made a kind of a shadow, a giant U shadow behind you. So I'm sure there's, as I learn more from my fellow Toastmasters, I will be able to give more constructive feedback and better constructive feedback. I'm working on it. But thank you, Jackie. Overall, a wonderful, wonderful speech. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Barbara. Nice job. Where'd we go? Where are we at? Eric, would you like
Yes.
to share with us your thoughts about Mary's speech, please?
I shall. First of all, you had a great introduction that set the speech up very well. Gave us the points to look for and what you're going to cover, and it was excellent. And that's one of your strengths that you've always had, is good introductions to set up the speeches. You had great gestures and great enthusiasm, which you always do as a hallmark of your speeches. And I always appreciate that. You always look like you are enjoying yourself, and that draws us in, and a smile on your face and a smile in your voice. And you gave personal examples, which I appreciate. I always do, because that shows you that you're authority in that, because you've lived it. One thing that I've got to pick some things out, okay? And one of the things is that when you did your gestures, one of your gestures was like this, and I would probably leave that out, okay? The other thing, which is nitpicky, is I love paintings, and those paintings in the back were a little bit of a distraction. I take them off the wall maybe when you did but that's totally nitpicking, all right? If you had great presence, and you stood, which you always do, and you've done that early in your speeches, and you stood back so that we can see the total of your gestures. Even when you put them down, we can see from your waist up. I thought that was excellent. You always look like you're a very serious speaker and always want to get better. I look at you taking examples from other speeches and incorporating in what you do, even if it isn't feedback from your speech, and I appreciate that. If you hadn't told me that you were having trouble memorizing and that's what you wanted to work on, I would have never known it. It's very smooth. You have great pauses. And even if you were thinking about the spot where you were, it looked like a natural pause to me. You leaned in at certain times, and you're very expressive, and it just adds to the part of that speech. Great camera contact, like I said. You may have been looking off to your right at notes maybe, but you looked around at like you were looking at a Zoom gallery view. I mean, like you were trying to include all of us. It was very natural. It was very good. Let's see here. That's what I've got. I loved it, and it's very good, and it is an example of how we should do a Zoom speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Well done. And now we'll hear from Rob on the timers report.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. This evening, I tried to inculcate into my timing role the need for healthy eating. If anyone on this call doesn't like bell peppers, well, I'm sorry. They're healthy and good for you. Now for the timing. Jackie, 6 minutes, 24 seconds. I believe that's what you were striving for. Mary, you were 7 minutes, 18. So you were right within that area of the 5 to 7 minute speech. Table topics, Lloyd, you were 1 minute 40. Selena, you were 1 minute 37. Christina, 2 minutes exactly. You are a winner. I was 1 minute 59. And our evaluators this evening, Barbara was 2 minutes 25 seconds. Well done. Eric, you were 2 minutes 32. Well done as well. That is my report, Mr. General Evaluator. And you are muted.
Did I have this backwards and talked over somebody earlier? I did a bad thing. It's called fubbing. When people are being spoken to and someone turns away from them, it's sort of like being snubbed. Well, the new term today is that when people turn their head down to their phone, they're fubbing you. So my apologies for my poor performance on that point. Christina, can you share with us your grammarian's report?
Yes. Thank you for inculcating us to the word fubbing. Rob, thank you for providing our vegetables. That was great. I liked Kathleen's use of the word alluded. My apologies to Jackie. I was so wrapped up in the speech that I didn't write any notes down of the wonderful phraseology that was in your speech. Mary, I liked followership skills, and followers don't get much airtime. Those were excellent terms. Things to look out for as a group. Dropping the G off the end of words. Thinking, looking. There were several others of that ilk throughout. Be sure that the G gets there. Thinking, looking, articulate those words completely. I also heard, where are we at? We don't need the at on the end of there. Where are we? That's the question. Being a little more cognizant before we speak, maybe slowing down just a bit to think about using our Toastmasters time to really work on those skills so that they carry over into our daily conversation. That's the whole goal of Toastmasters. So I encourage you to do that, to think about those misused words, prepositions, and the G on the end of words. Thank you again, Steve, for fubbing. Fubbing. We'll inculcate that into our language as well. The word of the day, Selena, Pat, Kathleen twice, and Rob. And Steve. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Ms. Grammarian Evaluator. In depth and detailed, well done. Now Selena can fill us in on how we did with our filler words.
I would be happy to, Mr. General Evaluator. I have to say, Rob has inculcated in me a desire to have salad with some bell peppers and a little lemon vinaigrette with garlic, salt, and pepper. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? So we did really well tonight. Everyone was pretty clean. Steve, I caught 1 repeat and an and. Pat, pretty clean as always, an aw and an anyway. Barbara, a couple ums and a couple repeats. Rob, 2 repeats and an and. Eric, an and a repeat. Christina, a but. Jackie, a so. Mary, a repeat. Kathleen was completely clean. Lloyd had a well and 2 repeats. Overall, I would say that's a pretty good record for the evening. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. That word seems awkward to me somehow. I was trying to imagine how I was going to plug it in. Toastmasters does such an amazing job of inculcating speaking and leadership styles through our repeated visits each week to this venue. I love it. It's lots of fun. I think our meeting went really well. I thought our Toastmaster did an exemplary job tonight. Everything moved well and flowed smoothly. Our speakers did bang up jobs on both of their speeches. I too stepped in it at our 5-year high school reunion when a girl walked up to me who I always admired during our high school years. She said to me, "You look great, Steve." And I said, as a compliment, "You look pregnant." She spun on her heel as she said, "I don't think so." And it was probably our 10-year reunion before I got the chance to apologize to her. And we did manage to get past that bump, but OMG. Rob, that was an amazing power of suggestion to add all those condiments to green peppers for Selena's salad tonight. You are an amazing man. On the topic of always winning, I too believe in the notion that if you can't win, don't play the game. My kids would always say, "Are you letting us win, Dad?" And I don't think so. Never will that happen. They won honestly. But I did when I was coaching T-ball games. The kids would always run up and say, "Did we win? Did we win?" And I would say, "We tied again." They started catching on after a while and they got a chuckle out of it. There's no sense beating them down or overinflating them. We had one coach who did that T-ball thing and his team went all the way down to the final game, the tournament game. And he built those kids so far up, so high on the pedestal that when they lost that game, they came off the field in tears, crushed, destroyed. It was amazing watching it. He just overinflated them. I thought it was terrible. Sorry to go off on a tangent. Great meeting tonight. Loved every minute of it. Now, Jackie, you want to tie it down?
I will. Thank you so much, Mr. General Evaluator. And I am going to ask Rob if he would count our votes for speaker of the evening. If we could send those to Rob in a personal chat, that would be fabulous. Is there anything you wanted to mention, Lloyd?
Nope, not really, other than not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 24th. Jackie will be our contestant representing Area A1 in the Division A speech contest. bigger deal than you might think for you newer people in the crowd. If she wins this division contest, she goes on to the district contest as a 1 in 5 shot at becoming our district's qualifier for the international regional contest. And that's one step away from making the international semifinals. It's a big, big deal. So she'll be able to thank all of us little people if it happens. So.
Yes, and thank you for your feedback tonight. Fabulous, fantastic. I will take all of it and thank you. Rob, do you have a winner for us?
I do, Madam President. And if you do win that contest, I hope you win a pair of tickets anywhere in the world. I think it'll be well deserved.
Thank you.
We had several people receive votes tonight. However, we have a clear winner tonight. Please congratulate Mary Syrie. Congratulations, Mary.
Yay. Yay, Mary. Thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful evening. This is a really fun meeting tonight. And thank you for everybody for being involved. If anybody doesn't have anything else to add, we will say goodbye.